I'm here with Timo of Oceans to talk about Hell is Where the Heart Is. Always nice to see you, always nice to talk to you, but even nicer to get some new music from you guys. So let's talk about that new music. And let me ask you this. What sparked the idea behind this concept of having 3 EPs and then bringing them all together under one single umbrella and having a full-length record made up from those 3 EPs?
It kinda came all together, actually. It wasn't planned from the beginning. Like normally we write the songs first, so we have the instrumentals, then we work on the lyrics. And also normally we write a lot more songs than we would need for one album. So we have, I don't know, about like 20 songs to choose from, so we can put the songs for the album together and make them like all fit very well and stuff like that. So, and that's what we did. And then we started working on the lyrics and we figured out, oh, it's getting all into like some cool direction, working together. And then Patrick, our guitar player, he kind of started writing this little conceptual story that I did the spoken word intros for each of the 3 EPs then with. And so it kind of happened, so to say. It wasn't planned from the beginning, so yeah.
But when you guys start to look at the EPs, did you have the idea that, okay, we're not just going to release 3 EPs, we're going to release 3 EPs, but then we're going to bring them all together to give the listener a sense of continuity across all 3 by having a full-length album?
Yeah, because it was kind of vice versa. We just planned to release a new album and then...
Oh, it went in reverse.
Yeah, it went in reverse. And then we thought, okay, it kind of fits with the backstory that we had and with everything. And also we just were curious together with the label and all to find new ways how to promote music. I mean, the metal world or industry, let's say it like that, is a little bit behind in like modern day music marketing, I would say. Like pop and rap artists, they have it all figured out so well, you know, with all the features and releasing a lot of singles and stuff. And like the metal is still stuck in this, like, okay, we release an album, we go on tour, we wait 5 years, we do it all again. But with the streaming and all, it just... Yeah, I guess it just works differently. And we were like a streaming band from the beginning. We were never like, I mean, we've been around now for, what is it? Not even 4 years now. So we're not one of those bands from back in the days that still sell a shitload of physical copies, you know? So yeah, we were just trying new things and thought, okay, if it fits with the concept, then why not? Let's just split it up and release EPs that come together as an album then in the end.
So let me ask you this, based on your experience now, because 2 of those EPs are out already. The first one came out really early in the year in January, the second one in the summer, and now the third one is going to come out at the same time as the full-length album reaches the market. Do you look back now at what the reception was for those 2 EPs and now what you expect the reception to be for the full-length album as this being something that works for you guys, maybe even going forward?
Yeah, I think it worked very well. The first 2 EPs got a lot of really cool reviews, like a lot of 4 out of 5, 9 out of 10. And what they always criticized was, it's too short. I would have given it like a 10 out of 10 if it were a full-length album. So I'm really curious now if they get the full album in their hands, if the critics gonna give us like full score on this. But yeah, I mean, in the end, this doesn't really matter. It's just something that I just I just found it funny. But the cool thing is that, the reception so far was great from the fans and critics alike. And of course, now we have an album coming out that most of the songs are already out there. So you could argue, okay, there's nothing new in it. But I think there's 2 things that still make this album release to me very valuable. One is if you're a fan and you really like to support a band and also like have things, then now we have the physical release. We have the CD and the vinyl with the beautiful packaging and all that you can pre-order now. And so you will have something, because if we would have stuck to only releasing EPs, then there would have been no physical release in the end, you know. So this is one reason why I'm really excited about it, to have it in my hands. I actually have the CDs. I got them today, but I haven't opened it up because I need to record like a unboxing reaction video, and I didn't want to spoil it for myself. So yeah, they're here. That's the one thing. And the other thing is I listened to the whole album start to finish, like, I don't know, a week ago or so, for the first time, like in a long time since, but because we've been recording it, like we finished recording it like quite a while ago. And what I found is that if you listen to like the EPs, they work on their own, but if you listen now to all the songs, like if you really take the time, sit down and listen to the whole album, it gets so much more intense, at least for me. And I don't know, and the whole album, it gets so dark in the end, and it just leaves me with like what's the name? Goosebumps. I just sat there in the end and thought, oh my God, what have we done? So yeah, I think even if you know the songs, like having the whole thing in its entirety is still bringing something new to the table.
I was going to say that, having been someone who listened to the EPs before, and then now listening to the full-length album, I honestly enjoyed two things about it. First was the intro tracks of the EPs now kind of become the interludes, where at least two of them become the interludes. Yeah. And that was kind of a nice way, because you kind of created 3 chapters. And when you're listening to the EPs, you were listening to one chapter. Now you get to experience the full book, if you will, because I felt like there was a sense of progression in terms of the mood, in terms of the essence of the record. And I don't think you get it when you're just listening to the EP. You get it when you're listening to the full-length record. So that was one.
Absolutely.
Aspect. And the other aspect that I really enjoyed about the experience of going through it is that you feel more invested in that same experience, because you kind of want to see where the next chapter takes you. And with those intros, those interludes, they kind of help you. It's almost like having a narrator that comes in every so often to kind of guide you in, this is where you were, this is kind of where we're going now. So I as much as the EPs work on their own, there's still added value in having them all together. At least I got value from it, outside of obviously the physical copy. I feel like musically, you guys still added something to the overall experience.
That's very good to hear. I feel the same, and I was hoping that it's not just for me. So now we're at least 2. That's great.
Well, and that's all that really matters. As long as you and me are cool with this, the rest is irrelevant.
Exactly.
Now, was this project more challenging, because now you have more moving pieces? You have 3 EPs, you have a full-length record that kind of brings it all together. Was this more challenging than the debut record, for example?
No, actually not. It just it felt a lot, maybe not easier, because there's always challenges. They were just different this time, I guess. But thinking about like writing it, no, it was easier, because with the for the first album, we took a very, very long time. I mean, it came out in 2019, and the first songs I started writing maybe already in 2015 or so. So they did go a very long way into this first album, and we revised the songs very, very often, like until we thought, okay, this is our sound, and we have found it now. And then we released the first album, and by then we figured out, okay, we weren't quite there yet, and now we have the feeling, okay, with this is kind of the thing, like where we like musically wanted to be. Because I think, I mean, the first album, I still love it, but I think it is not as rounded as this one that we have now. So we still have a shit ton of different influences and genres put together. But I think it feels a little more or a little less chaotic and a little more natural. And that's not, I mean, that's something we always achieved from the start, but now it went easier than the first time.
I think it's still chaotic, but this one had more of a vision of where you wanted that chaos to take you, if that makes sense to you.
It does.
Because that's how I perceive this record, at least from my own personal perception of listening to it. And that's kind of where I wanted to ask you next. You guys always had uniqueness of sound. You're talking about that chaos in the debut record, that chaos in this record. You can call it chaos. I call it chaos, but it's the uniqueness of each and every single song and the influences that come in. Now, do you see that uniqueness of the sound as a signal of the growth that you're having as a band, or it's really a result of all the genres that influence you as an artist?
I guess both, probably, and a lot of other factors as well. Yeah, I mean, what you just said, plus we're not like 16 and this is not the first band and not the first time we're writing songs. We've been doing this for a while. So there is already some experience in how to craft a song, like how to write it, how to get an arrangement done so that it's on the one hand like catchy, but on the other hand still surprising and not boring. And yeah, I think it's all of that. And of course, I mean, one thing that I also in Oceans love very much is, I mean, still I am like at least for the music, for lyrics, it's a different story. But for the music, I would say I'm the main driving force for most of it, or for the creative side of it. But still, it's not me doing like 100%. It's like we're doing this together, even though we're living in different countries and everything. But each of the other guys, they're throwing in riffs that they send me that then I take on and write a song out of it and stuff like that. Then when I have something I think it's great, then I just send it to them. And sometimes they say, dude, that's not there yet. And if there wouldn't be this like back and forth between all the members, and I would just be the only one deciding, okay, this is finished now, and we go to the studio, I think we would be like on, I don't know, it would be on 60%, not on 100. And this is what I enjoy a lot, this collaboration with the others.
You mentioned about the evolution, the less chaos, the evolution of the sound in your point of view from the debut record to this record. But now I want to ask you about your evolution as a singer. Where you see the biggest jump or the biggest step from one record to the next?
Yeah, I can do much more with the clean vocals now. The debut was the first time I did like serious clean singing. And I couldn't do it for more than like 10 minutes, and then my throat was fucked up and everything hurt. So I'm not sure. I'm still not like, or at least I don't think that I do it right, like properly, so that I don't damage anything, because I didn't have any lessons or anything. And I'm not sure if I'm naturally doing it right and doing the right technique, or if I'm just doing it totally wrong. I have no clue, but I can just feel that I can do more now, that I can reach other notes that I couldn't reach before. I can put in a lot of more, like, I don't have to focus so much on the actual singing, which makes it easier to put more of the emotion in it. And yeah, stuff like that. It just trying to improve.
Do you see it as that being one of the major strengths that these EPs and this record offer? That it's more dynamic. The band has always been very dynamic musically, but now you're also able to match that same dynamic with your voice?
Yeah, probably, because this is maybe one of the reasons why the whole album is a little bit rounder. On the first one, we had a couple of tracks that only had growling, and then there was some that only had clean vocals. And now it's a little more balanced, I would say. And I mean, And it's also less of the growls and more of the cleans, I think, because it just became so much fun for me to do. So I just wanted to like
Do more.
test things and do more and just figure out how it works. And so yeah, but it's still a challenge. I mean, and it's new. Like when you're screaming or growling, you just have to think about like rhythm and the sound, but there's not a real melody behind it. So now I have to come up with like those vocal hooks, like those melodies. That's a total new field for me to explore, and it's hard.
But you know what? It worked really well on this album. In my opinion, the essence of these EPs, the essence of this record, that theme that brings it all together, it's really only possible. And even though from a lyrical content point of view, you can only really bring all of that to the forefront if you have that dynamic approach. If everything was just one level playing field, it would be very hard for you to convey the emotion of the songs and the emotion of the lyrics. And I know you said that you work on the music, not necessarily the lyrics, but how is the creative prospect in terms of putting an album like this together? Because it feels very emotional and it feels very organic.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the like staples that we decided from the beginning on, that we say, okay, we want to touch people in their hearts. We want to be like, have emotional music, touch people, also have at least as much as we can a positive message in the end to give people hope and not just to devastate them even more. And with the lyrics, it's the same as with the music. I mean, the other guys wrote a lot of the lyrics for this album, but then again, it's the same as with the music. It's not that they write a text and I take it and just apply it to a song 100%. And I need to feel it, so I change this and that here and there, and maybe I don't feel the rhythm or it doesn't work with the melody, and then we change it again to work with the song and stuff like that. So with the lyrics, again, it's like this collaboration thingy that I think makes it better in the end. And I also think all the four of us, we are very much, it's empathisch in German. So I don't know if it's empathy, like when you can like put yourself into the perspective of others, very good. Like when you can feel when you can feel all the feels. I just think we're very good at that. And this is what makes writing lyrics about all those painful experiences easier. Besides that, a lot of us have gone through a lot of the stuff we sing about ourselves, unfortunately.
Is there where the title of the album comes from? Hell is where the heart is. How do you decipher that into what it means to you?
Yeah. Funny enough, we had the title before we had anything else. I just came up with this sentence, and normally we discuss a lot about album titles, and this time it came to my mind. And whenever I have those like lines, it's the same with If There's a God, She Has Abandoned Us. It just came to my head. I just write it in my phone, and then maybe 3 years later, the right moment pops up where we need it. It came to my mind, and I was like, that's gonna be the name of our second album. And I just wrote it into our group chat, and I expected everyone to be, I don't know, it's cliche, it's boring, blah, blah, blah. But everyone was like, yeah, it's great, let's do it. So there was no discussion at all. So, but to answer your question, what I thought is that when you don't care about anything, like if you don't care about someone or something, then it has no power over you because you don't care. Then it cannot affect you. But as soon as you care about something or even love someone, proportionally to the amount of love you give, you also give power to the other, let's say, person over you, because you're giving a lot, but they can also like give a lot back, and it can be good. but it can also be very, very bad. And this was just the idea behind it, that you can only find yourself in a horrible space when it's somewhat connected with something that you're like emotionally connected to, that you love. And I just found this thought very, like, I don't know, it's very melodramatic and very tragic, but it's also
Very
beautiful.
but
It's also beautiful, I think. And it's just like, okay, so there's in the end, like it's like this movie with was it Christian Bale? I don't know, where there's no emotions allowed. Like if there would be no love, of course, then there would be no hate and no crime or whatsoever, maybe. But then we would all be just boring robots dead inside. Like, yeah.
It's interesting that is the idea behind the title, because when I first saw the title, and then more so after I listened to the record, I felt the same way. I never thought about that sentence, but then that sentence, the more I listen to the album and the more I read the title of the album, the more sense that sentence makes. And I connected with it on that same level. So it's really interesting to see that that's where originated. Now, you talked earlier today about the hip hop world and this world is ahead of the metal world in terms of the releases, and you guys are trying this differently. A band that's now said that perhaps they're just going to start doing singles is Slipknot, because I guess they're figuring it out that doing records is not where it's at anymore, that the way people are consuming music, it's much better to just release maybe 10 singles in 1 year, or every couple of months releasing a single. Is that, while the idea works well in terms of streaming services and whatnot, is it feasible for a band, for example, like Oceans, to have a career where you completely forego records and you just do singles?
No, not completely, because a lot of stuff inside the industry, like festivals, touring, especially those two, they focus still a lot, or maybe even only, on like album releases. So if you have an album out, this is like the ultimate argument that you like get onto a festival billing or onto a tour billing, because then you have all the promotion that's attached to like releasing a full album. And and same with press, actually. Like for these EPs that we released, we didn't get not even a fraction of the reviews and press and interviews and stuff that we got for the first album. And I'm actually quite excited how this is going to turn out now in the end, now that it's becoming an album. Yeah. So if everyone is coming again now, or if they're saying that, okay, I mean, I don't know 2/3 of it already, I don't care anymore. It's interesting to see how this is. But yeah, the industry, it's not there yet, but for us, it did work quite well, especially in terms of streaming numbers, because like the more singles you put out, the more chances you have being like put into good playlists and all that things. And we also had fun like producing a shit ton of videos and all that. It was just cool. But I can also say that like for the next one, we're gonna do something different. It's like, it's not going to be the same again. We're not going to start releasing like 10 singles and then say, okay, here's the album. Like, we're going to think of, been there, done that. Now we need to try out something else.
Something new. Moving. Chapter.
Moving on.
I appreciate the fact that you guys are always like thinking about what the next step is and trying to stay ahead of the game. I think that's the only way for bands to survive these days, is to really think outside the box and thinking ahead of the game. And speaking of thinking ahead, my last question for you is, what are the plans for 2023?
Oh, that's always the last question. And at the moment, it's not my favorite one, to be honest, because we have plans that I won't talk about right now, because we're just releasing this album and I don't want to talk about, oh, maybe we're going to record the next one or stuff like that. It's a little too early. But in terms of live shows, there's not much to say, honestly. We play a couple of festivals here in Europe. We play Norway, Carmageddon. We play Grass Pop Festival in Belgium, which I'm looking forward very much to. It's an awesome festival. And then we're working on like to come on cool tours, of course. But that's it. And for now, we're just focusing on the release of the album. And after that, it's going to be some beautiful vacation, to be honest. We're going to enjoy Christmas season and visit our families and just have some time off.
Yeah, well-deserved time off. In that hitting of tour schedules, are you guys still a little bit far away from coming to North America? You feel like you maybe need another record under your belt?
That's really hard to say. I don't think so. I think it would be fine next year to come, and I mean we would love to. And I don't think we're like in terms of how would you say status or whatsoever. We're probably there yet. Maybe not like doing a headline tour, but we could for sure do a support some band on a North America tour. The problem at the moment is just with the pandemic and everything, and all the repercussions that it still has on the live industry. It's just so hard to tour. You know, everything is so friggin' expensive. I don't know how it is in the US, but over here, like a lot of the people that work in the industry, they quit. So there's a shortage of like crew members, drivers, all that. And the prices for buses and crew, they have gone through the roof. And now obviously we have like the prices for gas are also through the roof. And it's just gotten so expensive that even though all the clubs are open again and bands are able to play shows, a lot of them still have to cancel tours because it's just financially not doable. And also people still don't really buy tickets in advance because they're still cautious and try to keep their money together, and then they wait until last minute. But that doesn't make touring very plannable if you have to rely totally on people buying tickets the night of the show, you know. So it's really hard at the moment. And in the end, we do get offers. And unfortunately, we have to turn most of them down due to financial reasons, because it's just too expensive to do.
Yeah, everybody's complaining about the same thing. I think
unfortunately, that is what it is right now.
Yeah, it's just where things are. Well, Timo, thank you very much for your time today, man. I really appreciate it. Oceans, Hell is Where the Heart Is, out November 25th on Nuclear Blast. Your opportunity to bring these 3 EPs under one single roof and enjoy the experience of navigating these 3 different chapters that you guys put together. I absolutely love the record. Thank you very much for another great album, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you so very much. And folks, if you want to do us a favor, pre-order the album. Hell yeah.
I'll put links in the description of this video, so you can
then
click the button.
That will be awesome. And then hopefully we can come to North America soon. And while we're there, do South America as well.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, you're already on this side of the Atlantic.
Exactly.
All right, man. Awesome. All the best. Take care.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.